Welcome back to the Casual Athlete, looking at buy, hold, sell for this week and some risky options that might win you your league. Biz, how'd you go last week?
Well, last week was tough. I think I had about $3 million sitting on my bench, either suspended, injured, or on a buy. So not the best week. I dropped a couple of K ranks, even though I've actually not used a single trade this season. So pretty happy. I need to be smart this week, and I think this video will help me get me where I need to be.
Hope so, mate. I had a much better week. Grabbed Harry Grant, put the captain on him for 70 points, 140. Got Preston too, so we're making some moves in the right direction. But let's jump right in. It's a barren landscape this week, and there are a lot of traps on offer. I'll let you go first with Zach Woolford.
Yeah, Zach Woolford. Look, unlucky about Danny Levi going down with the jaw injury. Initially, we've seen Starling score really well to start the year, and I know you'll touch on him, but Woolford historically just hasn't scored that well. And the way Ricky uses his starting hooker is absorb 30 to 40 minutes at the start, and then Starling comes on after that to create some impact. But yeah, look, you've got Woolford here, and you've also got Starling here, so you must think that he's not really going to play a bigger role than what I've just mentioned.
He's just too expensive, Starling. At 640,000, he's never going to start. Ricky has said that he doesn't want to start him because he gets targeted in defense. So you just don't want to buy Starling when there's so many better options around that $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 mark. And for Schuster, what are you thinking there?
Yeah, Schuster. Look, don't get me wrong. I love Schuster. I think he's a really excited talent. But in terms of fantasy scoring, I think his role at 5'8" isn't going to score him too well. He's not doing too much of the kicking. Cherry Evans will take the bulk of that. I think he'll get a lot of assists and line break assists and tackle busts, but generally that's not enough base stats. I think at 475 he's got some value, but he's not going to be a top tier gun. So he's a bit of a mid-ranger for me until he can get like 300 plus kick meters a game. He's not a noted tackler, but passed for me, but elite talent. Like you could see straight away how much of an impact he made at 6. Another similar guy, similarly priced in the halves, who's come in since Ponga's gone down. You've got Gamble on this list.
Yeah, you want $150,000 of value in these guys when you're buying them because they're not going to be keepers for the year. So Tyson Gamble, 425. You need him to get to that 575 mark to be worthwhile. He scored in the low 30s and the low 50s so far. Those games, so 2 games with a try assist in each, a try in one of them. He's just going to need a lot of attacking stats to be worthwhile. And in a pretty dodgy Newcastle Knights team, I don't expect him to get those. So steer clear of Gamble. And last one here, Tommy Chester.
Yeah, Tommy Chester, great start to the season for him. Scored a try, but only about 30-odd points. Look, Chester's only got 2 games back. Obviously, Drinkwater is going to come in straight into the team. And Chester's is a guy who just isn't a known fantasy scorer, even in Host Plus Cup, which is the Reggies. He has only scored about 30 average. And, players who average 30 in reserves not really going to come in and average 50 plus. So I would stay away from him. Similar story to the fullback for New Zealand. He's already been replaced this week by Nickel Klokstad. So, just through the season, watch out for these 2-3 game players who can, just waste 2 trades.
Yeah, there are a lot of big traps this week too. For everyone watching, drop your trades in the comments. If you're trading in any of these guys, we'll be really mad. You'll get a 0 out of 10. But anything else, we'll give you our thoughts on how those trades are looking. So next up here, we've got the cash cows. It's a dry week for cash cows. A couple of these guys were on the list last week. Look, if I was you, I would try not to be bringing in too many cash cows this week. But if you don't have Preston, you go get Preston. 361K. He's scored 62 and 54, I think it is, the last 2 weeks. And yeah, he's serious value still. He's keeping that starting spot. So go grab him if you don't have him.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I actually, both Preston and Ford on this list, I started the season with both. So luckily, both in my team. Preston almost looks like he will be a keeper. He's making about 35 tackles, 130-odd meters, and he looks like a guy who can find the try line and bust some tackles. He's just got that stature to, run over people. And he's got about 55-odd on the weekend, but there was at least 1 or 2 opportunities where he could have scored a try or set up a try that he kind of just muddled up. So could have easily been a 75-plus score. But, Ford, obviously a low score with the HIN, missed last week. A lot of salty coaches with him. But coaches come out and said that they see Ford as an 80-minute player. He's got a decent work rate. I think he should average 35, 40-plus. And he's got the dual position which is very handy, especially as people going through buys and injuries and the new HIA rules. So keep Ford in your team and get him in if you haven't got him already. This next name here, Sean Keppie, a bit yuck.
It's getting desperate, and look, I'm skeptical on Ford as well. In general, I don't have Ford, and I probably won't buy Ford. I still think he's a bit suspect with minutes, but Sean Keppie, 355k. I mean, he's scored 40 both weeks he's played. He's playing about 40 minutes, so he doesn't require big minutes. He's a desperation play. I'm not saying go get Sean Keppie, but we have to fill this list, and we're looking at the best cheap options, and he comes in there because it is such a dry week this week. So if you're desperate for a middle and you have 355k and it makes some incredible trade work for you where you get a super gun, Keppie is a guy you can probably plug in and you can probably rely on for 35 points. Last guy here, hayze, perham, getting a bit late to be buying him, but back-to-back 40-point scores. How do you feel on that one?
Yeah, look, he's shown to have great work right at the back, racking up 150-plus meters in most of the games, and he looked really busy on the weekend. To be fair, it was against the Tigers, so a bit hard to read into it, but the one thing I've noticed since his first game against Storm is like the chemistry between him and Kickout is actually getting quite strong. There was a good try to start the innings, I guess, on Sunday where Kickout stepped in and found Perham back on the inside and scored a try. So at 370k, I'll probably pass on him, but there's probably a chance he can average 35 plus. Like if the Dogs look as good as they did on Sunday, like through the whole year, like he'll average there. Like another couple of names I'm just going to throw out, like not really worth mentioning, but worth keeping on your radar. Sonny Luke, he's back from the bye, he's 290k. PPM was a bit average, but looked to get 45 odd minutes. Another hayze is Hayze Dunster. Any Eels fans will know Wonga Blake and Bailey Simpson probably on thin ice. And Dunster's back from his injury, and he's averaged about 30 odd from the wing position before, so he could be a 250k cashy. And a couple other names with Kaufusi not beating his ban, Ray Stone and Mason Teague could rack up some extra minutes. And we're gonna touch on the impacts of Kaufusi down the track for a couple other guys like Connolly, but. Yeah, it's a very dire week of cows this week. I think, if you're not getting Preston or Ford, I'd kind of just try not to cash out anyone this week, see if there's anyone better next week. But if you're desperate, one of these guys could work.
When we're talking about these cows as well, Isaiah Katoa, I would not be starting him this week. So if you got away with starting him the last couple of weeks, you got 30, 25 points. Don't do it this week. He's up against the Broncos. I think he's going to get a real sort of treatment from them, and he's a very real chance of a sub-15 score. So if you have anyone else, start them over Katoa this week.
Agreed.
Next guys here. Yeah. Next guys, we've got the risky stat men. So the guys who rely a lot on attacking stats. And look, this can be a legitimate strategy going into fantasy. You can grab guys who rely on these attacking stats because they can spike so aggressively and hit big scores when they have those big days. But you just need to be ready for the fact that they're going to score low sometimes as well. So Reece Walsh, he was on 4 points at halftime. He was on 10 points with 10 minutes to go. He managed a 54-point game, but for him, I mean, he really does rely on those attacking stats. And more than 50% of his points come from pure attacking stats. That's tries, try assists, line break assists. If you factor in the meters gained and the tackle breaks from those attacking plays, it's probably more like 70% of his stats coming from those attacking plays. So you only really play Walsh if you think he's going to grab some attacking stats, which looks likely with how the Broncos are playing. The other thing I'll throw on there with him is he's got some pretty nice fixtures coming up. So who's he got here? He's got the Dolphins this week, the Tigers next week, Raiders after that, then the Titans and the Eels. So if you were grabbing for attacking stats, his fixtures make that a viable proposition.
Yeah, I agree. And the one thing I'll add to that, I agree with you on Walsh. Like he looked garbage for about 65, 70 minutes, and then boom, Haas, couple of big runs, offloads, 2 tries in 5 minutes, an assist. There's just so much talent in the Brisbane team that he can rack up a score quickly. I think he's actually very viable on simply the basis you mentioned. He's got a very favorable draw coming up, and you can ride Walsh for 5-6 rounds, and that can become Teddy or Turbo pretty quickly, especially because Teddy's coming on on the way down. And we've seen that Teddy has parts of the season where he just falls to 550, 600k mark, and then he just goes bang, and he's back up to 800k. So I'll probably be looking to get Walsh in this week, and then looking to change him up to Teddy down the track when the kind of difficulty of their draw switches out. But yeah, no, I agree on your position on Walsh, but I think he's definitely still a good buy if you're game to think the Broncos are legit this year.
Juicy. And Tamari Martin next up here.
Yeah, Tamari Martin. Look, I was going to sell him this week, but I didn't know who to sell him for. I kept him, and then I missed the game, and I came back and I saw like 50 points. I was like, Jesus Christ, what happened here? And he didn't even score a try. Look, that is definitely not something I would expect. He's not the type of player who's going to get you multiple line break assists, tackle breaks, try assists in a game. But he's got a pretty steady base stat, 20 to 25 tackles, doesn't miss too many, 50 meters. Like, he's pretty safe for a 25 to 30, and which is why I bought him at the 300K mark for DPP. Like, fullbacks can be so hit or miss. So I'd just be keeping. I wouldn't go buy Tamari Martin. Like, don't go get him. But if you've got him in your team, hold him. He's like a guy you can just keep on the bench, be like 18th, 19th man, and plug and play. Like, he'll be in my 17 this week probably, but it's not great, but he'll do the job.
I'll throw a question at you then. Tamari Martin's 353. Sean Keppie is 355. Why would you be positive on Tamari Martin with his sort of 25 to 30 when Keppie's posting those consistent 40s at the same price?
Yeah, look, I don't disagree with your logic there. But like, the thing is, I think most people don't have Keppie, whereas you have to make a trade to get him in, whereas quite a few people have Tamari Martin. So if you're going to choose one or the other, I would choose Keppie. But if you've got Tamari Martin, like, he's not worth trading out to a Keppie. But I wouldn't. If I don't own either of them, I'm not going for either of them. But if
that's me,
one of them, I'll hold.
I've got another. So.
No, yeah. Well, I don't know if you're lucky or not, but yeah, don't go chasing them is my recommendation.
I made plenty of mistakes, and a guy on this list actually, Khan-Pereira, is one that I do have. He was looking really, really rough until he scored those 2 tries and got 38 points. But even then, he hasn't cracked 100 meters in a game. He stood up his opposition winger to score a really cracking try, and he's clearly a bit of a freak in attack, but Khan-Pereira will not score a single point if it's not for tries or attacking plays. So he's a genuine threat to get a single-digit score every week, probably more than any other player in the competition right now.
Yeah, well, I was a bit off-put by him, and we're going to cover Tyrell Sloan in a second, who's kind of a bit better, but almost similar. But Khan-Pereira scored about 1.8 tries a game in the reserves and still only averaged 29. So I was kind of a bit concerned, which is why I skipped him. But
wow.
now, right? So I might even get Khan-Pereira in because, the thing is, he's got the bye next week, so it makes it difficult. But at 234K, his break-even is now 0 or -1 or -2. So you could actually make some money for you. But we've already seen that this is the type of guy who can get -2 or 1 or 0. So you can get him in and you just go back to square one. So it's a tricky one. He's just going to be a roller coaster. Like, some weeks he'll get you 40 with a hat trick, and then other weeks he'll get you -2 with nothing.
Yeah, you probably don't want to start him much. I had to start him last week because I had a few guys out. And
it's better than week 1. So.
Yeah, we'll cop it. And then Sloaney, 42 and 44 points. He's had tries in both games. He's had a lot of attacking stats. Tyrell Sloan is at 324,000. For me, he's a guy that you buy if you back him and you back St. George. If you don't think those guys, either of them are going to hold up, don't buy him. But if you think St. George will play some good footy and he'll score some tries, then you'll probably make enough money to make it worthwhile. Are you hot on Sloan or cold on him?
Now, he's the type of guy, and I kind of mentioned last week, like type of guy who you just don't know, like, these are the guys who average like 15 most years, and the 1 year they'll just have a career year, score a try every week, and an average 40. It's just going to happen, and they're going to score a try every week until the week you buy them, and they'll go to crap. So it's just like an unwritten rule of fantasy. Like, I think, to be honest, like I might go at 324K, it's not that much of a risk, and this is the type of guy I can just tell if I don't buy him, he's going to score a try every week and get 45. So I might as well kill him off and save myself the trouble.
Would you take then, because you're obviously thinking about this right now, and if you're undecided, that's okay too, but Tamari Martin, Tyrell Sloan, and Khan-Pereira, all his cash out options. Do you take Martin or Sloan there, or do you take Khan-Pereira and the $100,000 extra in the bank?
I'd take Sloan just because if you look at his stats previously, he's averaged about 39 at fullback, playing 80, which is not shabby at all.
It's good.
That's pretty solid for 324K.
There's a lot of tries though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the thing with Sloan is when he says average 38, he's got 2-3 scores of 60 and like 2-3 scores of like 5. And so from a money making perspective, that's not that handy. Like you can get 60, go up 25k, go to 5 and go back to square one. I mean, look at Ford. He scored a 40 odd in week 1, a 5 or a 4 like week 2, and hasn't made any money. Like this is the type of stuff you expect from Sloan. I would just go Sloan because he's the type of guy who can chain 2 or 3 50s together potentially and make you 100, 150k quickly. Whereas Timur Martin, he's going to be like 25, 25, 25, 50, 25, 25. Khan-Pereira could be like 40, 0, 40, 0. So I'll just take Sloan. Like, yeah. He's been more exciting for me as well. Yeah.
Sloan, yeah. I don't mind that either. He's very involved and he's playing really positive footy too. Next up, we've got the holds and then our mystery sell option after that. So we'll blast through the holds because they're pretty straightforward. But for people who are newer to fantasy, and I guess everyone who's refining their skills as well, it's not necessary to sell a player as soon as their role changes or as soon as there's a risk to their role. So when we're looking at a guy like Michael Chee, who's second on this list, I'll just jump right to him. He's been benched for this week. Same as a Braden Trindle as well. Chee went up $52,000 last week. He's probably going to get small minutes this week. But because of that low break even, he's still probably going to make money. So even if he comes on and scores 15 points, he'll be in the 400s for you. So don't start him. Don't put him in your 17, but hold on to him. Enjoy that price rise and think about what you're going to do. Same with the Cartwright. I mean, how do you see this Parramatta Eels back row panning out over the next month, Biz? And how do you think that impacts Cartwright?
Yeah, it's really difficult to predict the Cartwright situation. We've seen Madison named at second row this week with Doueihi back to the bench. There actually hasn't been too much concrete details on Doueihi's injury, so I'm not really sure if he's going to play. And just the makeup of the bench this week is a bit different. We've seen Brendan Hands, who's a noted kind of 5'8" hooker. I think he plays more hooker than 5'8", but he's played 2 games at 5'8" and a game of hooker this year. So I assume he's there to spell Hodjo through the thing. So it's no longer a 4-forward bench, and now you've got Doueihi, Wiramu, and Makatoa. Like, none of these guys are going to play big minutes. Murchie's out with a HIA, and a good friend of mine, Kill, he mentioned to me, what if Doueihi plays that 40, 50-minute middle role like Murchie was? So Doueihi's another guy you could potentially hold. He moved from the edge to the middle. So it's really difficult to tell. In terms of going back to Cartwright, Eels fans have been hating on Cartwright this year, but I actually think he's been quite solid. He's not making that many errors. He's not missing tackles. He's making about 140, 50 meters a game. And he's been pretty solid in defense. Like, he's just playing a different role this year. And he's held up and own. Like, if you look at most of the tries conceded, it's not really been where Cartwright's been. There was a couple against the Sharks, but a lot of the damage has been done on the the edges on the other side. So, look, I would hold Cardi for sure. Like, I think he's probably going to hold that second row spot for a few more weeks till Lane's back, just because Doueihi's just not that solid in defense. He runs a great line and he breaks tackles, but his work rate in defense is a bit low, and he missed a couple of crucial tackles last week. So I think that's also a factor in his benching. So, yeah, definitely hold Cardi. In terms of would I bring him in, probably not, but I would enjoy a few more 45, 50s scores out of him for sure.
100%. And then we've got a few guys here. Will Warbrick, Storm winger. They've got a pretty soft fixture again this week, but
he's got the Tigers. You can see Adokar and Alamotti. Like, he'll score 50 plus this week, sure.
He's not doing much. You've got to keep him. I'm probably going to start
Munster's back. I'm going to be starting him this week.
Yeah. It helps, yeah. So you can start Warbrick. I mean, look, it's risky, but who else you got? I'd start him over khan-Pereira, for example. And then Jermaine Hopgood, 663K. Look, no brainer, absolute keep. He had a bit of a tough one last week. Tough conditions, a pretty tough game as well. Not a lot of defense played in that one. He's a solid hold. Any additional notes on him there, Biz?
Yeah, people, I mean, I guess Madison is now named on an edge. That probably helps his prospects. So you don't have Madison coming in playing that lock role for 50, 60 minutes off the bench. Yeah, so that helps. And look, Hopgood's been amazing. Like, yeah, he made some mistakes against the Sea Eagles, but I'd still say Hopgood has been the best Eels player this year to date. So, look, he doesn't need to play 75 minutes to score well. Like, he could play 55, 60 minutes. Most weeks he'll probably score 50, 55. So definitely don't trade him. Trades are valuable. If Hopgood is your biggest problem, then you've probably got a perfect team, honestly, because I've got much worse players I need to sort out first.
People are asking about it though. Like, they're asking about cashing out Hopgood and all that. But
No,
yeah, I totally agree. He also have a
don't
great
you dare.
great buy cycle too. So just stick with him. At some point this season, Hopgood will probably be $800,000. There'll be a spike period where he's at that price. So stick with him.
Honestly, Longy, just on that, I would not be surprised, and I'm thinking about chucking the captaincy on him this week. Like, I can see him going back to 75, 80. Like, these are the type of players who have a crap score, everyone goes off him, and then bang, straight back at it.
Against his old club too. I mean, look, I'm all over Harry Grant again. Harry Grant against the Tigers. I just can't go past that. But no, Hopgood could be juicy. Last guy here is Burton, and Burton had a cracking game against the Tigers. I mean, he still only scored 59 with a try, which it's not that great. But if you've held him this long, and he's $610,000 now, down about 100K, you just got to stick with him. And I'm still pretty confident that he's going to get it done this year. He had great run meters last time out as well. So the Dogs are looking all right. I think it'll be fine for Burton. Are you thinking the same thing? And actually, do you have Burton?
I don't have Burton, but if I was gonna there's a couple of I'm not going to reveal who our mystery sell is, but some alternatives to our mystery sell are in that Burton type level, and I think Burton's already lost about 100K this season. Burton's the type of guy we've spoken about it before. He can just go on a run of like 5x7 he scores. So yeah, look, I would buy Burton at 600K. The only thing I noticed, he's lost the goal kicking. I don't know for how long. Flanagan took goals, and he did less general play kicking, so it might have been injury related. So if you know why Burton did some less general play kicking and lost goals, leave us a note in the comments. But if he gets those back, yeah, absolutely no brainer. 600K, that's solid. And that try he scored, only 59 points, but that was a good try. 50-meter odd try, made him look silly. To be fair, often a galley wasn't even looking at him, but yeah. Burton's a buy at 600K. Yeah, he's been dropped. Yeah. So, but yeah, 600K, he's a buy for me.
Yeah, he's juicy. But you did allude to it, the mystery sell here. So the guy, we're going to do a deeper video on this as well. So if you've gotten to this point and you want to know more about this guy, we'll link that in the description as well. But the mystery sell here is Adam Doueihi. Do you sell Adam Doueihi? I'm going to lay out the lay of the land here. So Adam Doueihi has been moved to fullback. Brandon Wakeham's been brought into the halves. Brooks stays in the halves. He's priced at $749,000. Doueihi has been a bit of a shining light for the Tigers so far this year, but he had an absolute shocker last week. Biz, I want to get your thoughts on this guy first because I know he's a guy you own. He's also a guy on my team. Give me your thoughts on Adam Doueihi right now.
Yeah, look, it's a tough one. I want to be positive because I've got bigger fish to fry on my team this week, and so I pretty much have to hold him. I just don't have another half that we can replace him this week because it's either Trindle or Katoa for me, and I don't want to play either of those. And I would consider buying Hayze, but he's got to buy in a couple of weeks. But yeah, back to Doueihi. Look, when he moved to fullback last week, he didn't look happy to be there, to be frank. I know he was playing a bit injured, but he was not following the ball. He was not tracking well in defense. He's a guy who gets a lot of points from kick meters and tackles. And he's not the type of player who loses run meters at half. He still runs the ball a lot from number 6. So it's not like he's going to lose a ton of meters there. He's averaged about 40 when playing at fullback before in 2020. Now, the positives to this is he's probably going to get that dual position at the next update. And at a dire fullback position, that's handy. But look, if you've got, if you don't have other needs, I would probably be trading Doueihi, to be honest. I'm not confident on him. I think at best he averages 45 there. He's priced about 55. And when I bought him in, I was expecting 60. In saying that, Brandon Wakeham is not that great. He's had a track record of being in and out of teams. Dane Laurie, inconsistent, but has a bit of talent. It could only be a 2-week stopgap. Doueihi didn't look great at fullback. He could easily move back to 6. Or worse, he could move to center as well. So, yeah, look, it's a tricky one. What are your thoughts?
I love it. Look, I'm going to save some of my thoughts for this next video. So, look, that's our buy, hold, sell for this week. We're going to be posting the next video. Actually, by the time you're watching this, it's probably already up. But it'll be a look at Adam Doueihi, deeper dive into him, and also a look at the alternatives in the halves. So those guys at that $900,000 mark down to the guys in the 600,000s where you can make $100,000 cash selling Doueihi to one of those guys who is going to score better than him. So we'll go to that next. I'll leave the link to that in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.